Welcome, everybody, to the RFP Success Show with me, your host, Lisa Rehurik, the #1 sought-after authority on RFP success. So each week, we're here to bring you information, strategies, or resources to help you win more business through your RFP responses and also have a little bit of fun doing it. So let's go ahead and get this week's episode started. And I had, a couple of weeks ago, I had this really great opportunity to have a conversation with a woman from a company by the name of CV Partners. And I got so excited when I was talking to her because I know that for all of you listeners out there that respond to RFPs and you have decently sized teams, managing the resumes is a pain in the ass, to be quite frank. And so this woman was telling me all about it, and I said, I've got to have you guys on my show. So we are lucky enough to have Erling Linde, who is the CEO and I believe the creator of CV Partners, here to tell us all about it and talk about some of the pains of resumes and how this solution helps. So welcome so much, Erling, to the show.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and we get a really great accent too because he is not here in America. Where are you located, Erling?
I'm in Oslo, Norway. So
that's so cool. That's so cool. We Americans get really excited about cool accents. So
that's good to hear.
All right. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and dive in because I know that my listeners are really excited about hearing about this. But at a high level, tell us about CV Partners and your technology.
Yes. So CV Partner is all about resumes and case studies. So resumes, they're called CVs in Europe, and that's the origins of the name. So what we have discovered is that a lot of people who work with bids, proposals, RFPs, and tenders, they spend a lot of time copy pasting and searching for, finding, putting together Word documents, and in our case, it will be resumes and case studies. And we decided to try to take away some of the pain from that process. So CV Partner is all about streamlining how you work with resumes and case studies for bids and tenders.
I love the simplicity of it, actually, right? Like this is what we do, and it's seemingly simple, but for everybody that works on resumes or CVs, knows that it's not simple on that side of things. So I love that you focus just on that, right? What caused you specifically to develop this? Like, were you in the throes of it, feeling the pain yourself?
So I do have a background from the consulting side of things, okay, where this is used frequently, of course. Yep. But it was also through the help of some pilot clients that we started digging into this and found out that actually there were quite a lot of highly skilled, usually even highly paid people who were spending hours and days and weeks on putting these resumes and case studies together. And when I started asking them if they were willing to pay for a service if we built something to solve that problem, they all said yes. And that's how the journey started.
I love it. I love it. So you were working for another company before, and then you kind of started this and went out on your own. Is that how that?
Yes. So I worked as an IT consultant originally, okay, in Norway. And then I moved to London in the UK. I lived there for some years, starting out as an IT consultant, and then the journey took me into sort of a startup environment where I guess the entrepreneurial spirit started growing, and then this opportunity or problem came along, which I then decided to start solving. Yes, so that's how it all started. I have a technical, yes. So I have a technical background. So I was the one who programmed the initial versions.
Wow.
But I'm not so good at designing, so that's the so I got the help of my co-founder Nikolai, who's an expert in user experience, and he joined quite early. And I think that sort of balance of the technical and the user experience has been very important.
Yeah.
It has to be simple and easy to use for it to work.
For sure, because we can overprocess sometimes in the whole RFP process, right? And I saw your interface. Christian was nice enough to show me a demo of the interface, and it is really simple, and I love that. I am all about simple and, efficiencies, because again, we've got a lot going on when we're bidding on these RFPs. So kudos to you guys with the user interface. I think you did a really great job there. I haven't dug in and worked with it all yet, but I loved seeing that piece of it. And I also love that you found a problem to solve, and that's how you got into kind of the entrepreneurial side. And as us entrepreneurs know, once you get bit by the bug, there's no going back, right?
That's very true. It's I have a lot of friends in this startup environment, and yes, we are somewhat damaged by that. And
yeah, you either get bit by it, or you get bit by it, and you're like, okay,
yes.
I'm out. But I think a lot of us are like, nope, all right, I'm in for life. So
Definitely.
all right, so what would you say to somebody that says, look, right now we just do everything in Word, and we've got all of our stuff stored in Word, and we just pull it all out of there. Why would this be more efficient for us?
I would start asking how they work with these Word documents, and usually it turns out, well, they might not even be all in the same place. So there might be different versions of these documents lying around, some from the last tender and some for the next tender. Some they don't even exist. Some is on a local computer somewhere. Some is in a shared file. So that's where some people start. Just having everything in one place is a good thing to start with. But then when you start looking at how you use these documents, then what we discover is that if you do compete on these tenders, it's important that even if the same person you offer as part of the bid, this person might have a kind of a varied background. You might be an expert in one field, but a generalist in another field. So it depends on the tender which parts of that experience you want to highlight. So they usually end up rewriting parts of it or changing it back and forth between each bid. Yeah.
It's so funny because here you are in Norway, in a completely different country, and you're just speaking the language of everybody that I ever work with. The exact same problems, right? Like they've got all these different versions. They're all over the place. And like one of my biggest clients that I mentioned to you earlier, they have this challenge for sure because, they'll revise a resume for one particular opportunity, and there will be kind of two sets of revisions. One will be universal revisions, and then one will be just for that opportunity, and then it gets mixed up, and then you're in the throes of the RFP, and then those universal changes never get done, and then now we need them to be a specialist versus a generalist, and you're just speaking the language to everybody out there. So it sounds like everybody has the same problems when it comes to this, right?
Yes. And it's always good to get that confirmed, but it is something that we have also started discovering, that this is not the problem that is unique to Norway or UK or Europe. It's something that seems to be going on lots of places around the world, and so I believe we have some potential there in terms
For
of it.
sure. Yeah, I mean, definitely a global solution. And like I said, when I looked at the interface, there wasn't anything that made me feel like, oh, this is, because I've looked at other softwares before, right? And it felt from Europe somewhere, and it felt like, oh, this is just too much of a transition into US. But this didn't feel like that at all. I mean, it just felt like it was pretty ready to go, obviously with your own data. So can you customize? So let's say my client or our listeners have a specific format that they use. Can they still use their format?
Yes. So what we typically do when we get new clients, we look at the templates they're using today, and we recreate the templates that they want to keep using in our system. What you can also do in our system is that you can have multiple templates.
Oh, that's
You
cool.
Yes. So if you have a resume in our system, you can choose which template to export it to, basically. So you can export it to your preferred sort of company profile template, or you might have a shorter version sometimes. A lot of our clients, they sometimes have to deliver these resumes and case studies in specific formats requested by the government or the
Yes.
so that's when we actually typically get an emails like, hey, we need this template now, can you help us? And then we fix that and add it to their account, and they can then export, whether it's one
Oh,
resume
cool.
or if it's 100, they all get out in the same template, and you don't have to do this copy paste exercise between templates and fiddle
That's
with
huge.
formatting. And yes, so it is, I mean, in the system, it's a small sort of part of the system, but in many cases, that when you look at it, this can save you so much time. So it's the most sort of obvious business case to look at in terms of
Yeah, because, like we've said already a few times, is that, we're really busy when we're responding to RFPs, and any little efficiencies, I'll go into large companies that have been, they've got really strong processes. They've got a lot of processes in place already, but they're still looking for more efficiencies and systems and things to help them. And any little thing helps. If, oh my gosh, that's such a pain in the butt. If you've got 20 or 30 or quite frankly even 10 people that you're bidding, and you've got to take the format that you're used to and turn it into the format that's in the RFP. I mean, that can be a lot of work and a lot of time. And I love that you guys can do that. Oh, that's another very exciting thing I didn't know. She probably told me about that, and there was so much information. All right, so here's another question. How does this work with case? Oh, well, actually, let me ask that in a second, because I have another clarifying question. So
Yes.
let's say one of our listeners has um, 3 or 4 different types of internal things. They've got like a biography type format, and then they've got a more traditional resume type format, and then they've also got like a shorter summary per person. Can all of that be stored in there as well?
Yes. So this is possibly easier to explain when demonstrating the system, but
Yeah,
you can basically have multiple summaries or resumes for one person sort of living in the same what we call master resume. And then
cool.
you can, as part of the workflow in CV Partner, you would select which resumes to include in the bid. You would copy them into a bid workspace where you would tailor them for that particular bid. And that's where you would go through and say, sort of, I want this, I want to highlight this, I want to include this, I want to hide this. And you do that very quickly. And then you click export to the template you want, and then the content comes out in that template you want in the right place. So you can definitely solve that. So one thing is having those combinations that you say, but you can then also have versions where you have targeted this person in towards a specific industry or a specific role that they sometimes work with or as.
Yeah, that's really cool. And when he says this, you guys, it's so true. Like, you literally just click a little, a radio button. You just click
Yes.
yes, include, unclick it, and then it brings it over, and that export's easy. This is not an arduous, difficult, process heavy solution. It was very easy and intuitive. So again, kind of back to that, kudos for the user interface, because it was very intuitive based on the demo that I saw. Now, how do case studies work?
So, I mean, case studies, they do work in a similar fashion
Okay.
to the resumes. But as you know, case studies are describing the projects or deliveries from the company's perspective. So
Yep.
you could have multiple employees in your company who have worked on this case, and you describe those case studies with metadata in terms of cost and extent and all that, but you also describe them with pictures or images or graphics if you want
Yep.
that, and you can describe them with texts from all kinds of perspectives, and you can export them to different templates as well, and as part of tailoring these case studies for bids, then it's then possible to select which part of the case study to include. So it works in a similar way to the resumes, but of course tailored for what they are, case studies. So
that's pretty cool. So you could have different fields like, here were the dates that we worked with them. Here was maybe the contract value. Here is the person that we worked with. Here's a short high-level summary. Here's the deeper summary. All of that could be tailored in there?
Yes. All of that is fields we have in the solution today. So definitely, and the case studies they do also interact with the resumes if you want them to. So
how does that work? That's cool.
Yes. So what we discovered is, of course, that the case studies they are projects that people have worked on, and those projects you want in some form into the CVs or resumes. Not necessarily a one-to-one, because on the case studies you would describe them usually with some longer, more elaborate text.
Yeah.
But what we have is that we have a field on the case studies which has descriptions for the resumes. And what you could do as a project manager or someone owning this project or case study, you can then summarize this case study so that it could work as a generic description of the projects in the resumes. And you can actually, instead of waiting for the employees or consultants or whoever it is to update their own resume, you could then proactively push this out to the resume. So if you have 10 people or 20 people or 50 people on the same project, you can make sure that they get a head start in updating their resume with the latest project by pushing that shared description and metadata to their resume. And then they would, of course, add on that potentially with sort of their own unique contribution to the project. But you ensure that this high level description is similar and consistent for everyone who was on that project.
There's a lot of efficiency that can come into play there for sure, especially when they're having to push it out. And again, I've got a lot of clients that do that, where they've got to send it out to the person and say, okay, hey, here's the opportunity. I need you to review this to make sure that you're talking about, this opportunity, revise it because we haven't gotten a revision from you, or you're a new employee. We need your resume and we need it in this format. And so there's so many efficiencies here. I am such an efficiency gal, so I am like loving on you guys so much right now.
Thank you.
So let me ask you, is there anybody that's too small for you? Any companies, like let's say it's a small company. I work with a lot of small companies that only have 5 employees. Is that too small?
No, it does not have to be. We actually signed a new client who has 5 employees today.
Nice.
It is what I could say is that you have some small companies that are either very niche, or they sell mostly through networking, or they don't sell with resumes, and then they of course they don't need us. But as companies grow, they tend to sort of grow out of their niches, and they need to compete with everyone else on the same terms, and then they need to reuse resumes. But there is also small companies who start out directly into this game, and potentially by partnering with others, or being a part of a bigger bid, or so those who do that, they would use us also from almost day one. So we get a lot of new clients. They are actually breakout companies from existing clients, for example, and then they used our system before and they want to continue using it. I would say you're not if you're less than 5 people, you're probably too small. But of course, as you grow, you get more and more value out of the system. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah. So is there? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that of course we try to guide our clients to sort of depending on where they are today and where they're going to, kind of which part of the system you should start out with, and kind of take them on a journey in terms of
Okay. That's a really great idea. You know, I'm even thinking too, the applicability when there's partners or subcontractors involved too, because that's always a pain point for my clients, is there's of course a completely different format that they're using. So I could see that also. Would that also be a good opportunity to use the system to help get those all
Definitely, yeah,
consistent?
yeah. So I mean, we have features for external users, as we call it today, and we also have the possibility of collaborating with. So if you we have clients that maybe there are two or three, they are bidding together on a bid. They can
Yes.
share these bid rooms between them, so they could add case studies and resumes from each other. So they in total they are more appealing, or they have the right combination or mix of people and experience, and then they can of course then coordinate which templates they want to export to this to. So that's definitely possible today, and we see that as
That's cool.
a useful thing, and it's kind of helping us to grow our network. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really cool, that is very cool. One of the other things you guys had, and I just want to toss this out for the listeners because I thought this was really awesome, is, especially if you're a big company. So I work a lot in the healthcare consulting space. And let's say the bid was looking very specifically for somebody with long-term support services experience. You can search right
Yes.
within the portal for, like, say LTSS, which is an acronym in the healthcare space, and then pull up all the resumes of people that have that experience, and then kind of talk about team members from there.
Definitely. Because we store the data in a structured format, and it's, we sort of separate the data and the layout so you can export it to different templates. That means we have the data very structured. So you get a complete sort of skill database for free almost. So you can search,
Yeah.
for different parts in the resumes. You can search very specifically. If you tag projects with skills, the system will also then know how many years experience you have with the different skills. So you can even then search for how many people do we have with 3 to 7 years experience with this particular skill. So it depends, but we've seen these sort of matrices that you sometimes have to fill out as part of the tender, and our system can help you with the answers to that.
That's pretty swift. I love that. So what do you say to somebody who says sometimes getting technology involved just makes things harder?
Yes, that's definitely true. I think to have success with any tool, you do have to do your homework, and you do have to prioritize it, and you do have to put the right people to roll it out, and you have to have the right people to govern it, and that's how it is. So to help with that, we have an onboarding process that we take our clients through.
Okay.
So to make sure they get everything set up, but also that they get the training and necessary understanding on how to actually achieve success with the software and our solution. So I think it can sometimes be, you have to change certain ways of how you work.
Yeah.
And I think you should never underestimate that. Of course, any new tool will require some change to your organization in some way, but I think that's something. So I did mention I started out a very technical journey, and but these days I'm more and more involved in sort of advising our clients on how to best organize and how to best get the value out of our system. So it's something that we are seeing as equally important to just having. So the tool takes away a lot of barriers. It opens up a lot of opportunities. But you do need to have the organization on board as well for it to be a true success over time, of course. So
yeah, I actually love that answer because, it is true. You can't just we don't go to sleep one night and magic elves don't come in and fix everything for us. And then when we wake up and our life is all of a sudden better tomorrow. Yes, there's going to be a little bit of work put into it, um, but going through that for the long-term gain of what this is going to help you with efficiency wise, because again, I see I work with probably hundreds of clients every year, and it's crazy how just those little tiny efficiencies can make a big difference. And this is a big pain point for most of my clients, is just collecting this piece of it and making sure that they're right, and maximizing the use of all of the skills that everybody has. And I can see a lot of up leveling for responses because you've got this information already there. It's updated, it's ready to go, and you can really pull on that. So I love that. So Erling, do you have any specific success stories that you could share with our listeners?
So obviously, a lot of the work we do with our clients is somewhat confidential.
Yes.
There are some stories we share, which is also available on our website, of course. So you can, for example, read about one of our clients, BDO, which is an auditing and consultancy firm. They use our system now in 70 offices across Norway. Obviously, some people there as well did a really good job in terms of traveling around and talking about this and framing this framing the value proposition correctly for all the different parts of the organization. But I think that is quite a good success story to bring up.
Yeah. Did they start out small and then grow it within the organization, or did they just go for broke right out of the gate?
I think it was always the scope of rolling it out to everyone, but as many of our other clients do, they do start out with a pilot project to get some experience and to. So our tool is very intuitive. It's very easy to use, but you can, of course, you can customize it. There are some settings. So if you do it that way, then that, or if you choose to work with it this way, then there's a pros and cons of some of these settings. And in total, it takes a few people some time to kind of go through that learning curve and understanding the choices. And once you kind of made the decisions, you just package it all up and make it really simple as you introduce it to the rest of the organization. But that sort of initial journey can sometimes be useful to do that as a pilot project, so that you make sure you get a really good understanding and make all the correct choices in the beginning, and then once everything's set up, you go.
I love it. And, I love the word simple. So simple is always good. And the other thing, y'all, to all the listeners, we're not talking price here or anything today, but I will tell you that this is very accessible to anybody. Erling and I have had some conversations about it, and it's very accessible. So don't get in your mind that like, oh my God, I'm sure we don't have the budget for this. Maybe you don't, but I will say it is very accessible. So if this intrigues you, I would encourage you to reach out. So Erling, how can they get in touch with you if they want to see a demo, you or a team member?
Yes. The easiest thing is to go to our website, cvpartner.com. There you just fill in your email in a box there just on the front page, and we will get in touch immediately and get you set up with a demo. So I think that's the easiest way. Feel free to email me on erling@cvpartner.com. I'll make sure everything is taken care of.